We have as our first guest one of the featured authors from this year's festival, but she's never been on the show. So we wanted to bring her on. And since I didn't really get a chance to hear all of her story about how she's all the years she's been in the publishing industry, but what I did hear was so compelling, and we wanted to have her on the show so it could be exposed to our online audience. And so, Kiki Swinson, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi.
Have you recovered from your
Yes,
trips to different places, then to Houston and then back to Atlanta?
yes, yes. I'm relaxing now. Mhm.
Okay. Now, do you write full time, Kiki?
I do. I do. I ghostwrite
Okay.
and edit. Yeah, but I do it full time. I don't do anything else.
Okay. Now, how long have you been doing it full time?
For like maybe 22 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
right.
thought you were going to say a
Almost
small.
right at the top.
Listen,
Wow.
I
So,
have clocked in nowhere in like 22, 23 years.
well, that's great. And now, how long? When did you first start writing? I've known about you since I think you started, but just bring us up to date on when Kiki started and why she started and some of your journey to get to where you are now.
Okay. So you want some backstory?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
what's the backstory?
All right. So I didn't start writing until I was in prison. Um, but before I went to prison, just a little bit of backstory. I used to traffic drugs. I started trafficking drugs at the age of 17. And I, got involved with this big time drug dealer. And then I stopped trafficking drugs and helped him build a drug empire, helped him become a multimillionaire. And then we started having people traffic the drugs for us. And this duo, this girl and this guy that was, trafficking drugs for us, this one particular trip was arrested here in Georgia. As a matter of fact, coming from Florida, I purchased, a couple of keys of cocaine, gave it to them. They were supposed to bring it back, but they were arrested. Federal investigation came, and we were locked up like maybe a year later on conspiracy. So, but while I was doing that, helping him build a drug empire, I was going to school for English. I was going to a community college for English. I started out as communications because I wanted to be an anchor woman. I wanted to do journalism.
Okay.
And so, because of the federal investigation, I was arrested. Stopped school. I was like maybe 17 or 20 credits short of an associate's degree. And then I did 5 years in prison. Came home, but while I was in prison, I started reading magazine articles on Terry McMillan because she was hot back then. This was in the early 90s. So
Okay.
I started reading the book Mama, Disappearing Acts, and stuff like that. And I started doing research on her. And I'm like, okay, I started reading about her success, how she used to go to the mailbox and, get 30 and $40,000 checks. And I'm like, what? You get that much, legitimately?
Legally, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Just write books and stuff like that. And they were entertaining. And so I did my time. I started writing in prison. Um, and then when I came home, I wrote a book, something similar to Disappearing Acts, or Wait Until Exhale. I'm gonna say Wait
Okay.
Until Exhale because Wait Until Exhale had different women going through obstacles in their relationship. So I wrote a book um, called Mass Shambles, which was my very first book when I came home. I came home in 1996. I went to the halfway house, got out of the halfway house in 1997. So a couple of years after that, I released Mass Shambles, sold like 1,000 copies. It
Hmm.
was about three women going through drama in their relationships with men. Only sold 1,000 copies out the trunk of my car, going to, beauty salons and stuff like that. And at this particular time, Terry Woods was out,
Okay.
Soldier. So
Mm,
this was like in the late 1999, early 2000.
okay.
So I remember driving to a Black-owned bookstore, and the guy there in New Jersey, he said, "Hey, Kiki, you did time in prison. Why don't you write a hood book, Um, and so I said, he said, because, Sister Soldier's book was doing, really, really well. And Terry Wood's book, True to the Game, was doing really well, Coldest Winter. And, so those were the books that were out at that particular time. And so I sat down, and he said, "I'm gonna introduce you to Carl Weber," because he knew Carl Weber back then. And Carl Weber had just got his deal with Kensington, his little imprint, Urban Books.
Hmm.
Thank God, no shade to Carl Weber, but thank God that didn't go through. With him, because he had built up a roster, and so he was, he was filled to the capacity of the authors that he wanted to sign. So I got hooked up with Crystal Lacey Winslow at Melodrama Publishing out in Brooklyn.
Okay. Heard of them?
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
she's the one who did the Wifey series, Melodrama Publishing out of Brooklyn. And
Okay.
so I did Wifey and gave it to her, and that first 90 days, I mean, that first 30 days, we did 100,000 copies. And remember, back then, it was easy to sell that many books because we had street vendors.
Right.
New York, we had
Right.
All over New York on every corner.
Hmm.
all the boroughs. They had the street vendors. They had them in Philadelphia. They had them in New Jersey. They had them in Baltimore. Wherever there was a train station, people had tables set up selling books. And then we also had, Black-owned bookstores who reported at Essence Magazine, and that helped too, because people would come to the tables looking for your book.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's how
Our store was a Kush City
I
was
know.
a reporting store.
The Essence. Yeah, I remember, because that's when I was there doing, when I was there at your event. That's when one of your friends said, "Hey, she's a part of Kush City." I was like, "Okay, wait a minute. That's been out for a minute."
That a minute. Yeah.
Yeah,
Late 80s. I mean late 90s.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
since
yeah.
December 98 was when we went online, but we opened our store in 2000. So
Yeah, this
yeah,
city opened
a
on
lot
So
a
from
lot
the
was
beginning, that's
yeah,
from the beginning.
yes. And a lot was happening during those years, those early years in the book industry, and all the people that you mentioned. I know. I mean, they all either came to the store, or, or I was
Triple
exposed to
Crown,
them in some
Triple
way.
Crown was hot back then, and
Yeah,
Well,
everything.
Triple Crown
yeah,
was very hot back
Yeah,
then.
what? What? It's like if you weren't, it's like you didn't even know the author's name with Triple Crown. You just, if you saw
hmm,
a Triple Crown book,
Well,
you got
Triple
yes,
Crown was bigger than the author's name on the book. Triple
that's
Crown
what
was
I'm
up here,
saying.
and the author's name
That's
was
what I
right
was just saying. You didn't have, they didn't care who the author was. They saw Triple Crown at the top, they was buying the book.
yeah,
But thankfully for me, Melodrama was a small publishing company out of New York. But luckily for me, Wifey, the name Wifey, put me on the map. So when they
okay,
saw Wifey, I'm Still Wifey, they saw the series, they
Mhm.
started correlating my name with the name Wifey, because they didn't know my name either. They just saw the title and they wanted the book.
okay,
And then they started, you know, so when they saw Wifey, like, okay, her name is Kiki Swinson. I want the book by the girl who wrote Wifey, because I used to hear that all the time. I would be doing a book signing, and I heard someone come in and did Wifey Part 2 come out? So I heard that one time, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here doing a signing for it, and so people learned my name later.
okay.
It was,
They learn your book titles first.
right. They came, yes,
Hmm.
Kiki Swinson came synonymous with Wifey later on.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really think the early 2000s were probably the golden age for Black books
It
because,
was.
yeah,
those were times where it wasn't about being social media famous. We had to actually go
mhm,
out there
right,
and actually go face to face with readers. We had to do what we call now guerrilla marketing.
Yes.
If you knew a name back then, you knew it because that author was on their grind, not because they were social media famous.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
They were really hustling.
Right.
And a lot of authors who are coming out with books now don't understand that. They just think they're gonna write it. Well, because they get their book on Amazon, they think it means something. It doesn't. Amazon has millions, tens of millions of books. Nobody knows your book from Adam unless you do some kind of marketing.
Yeah.
And your first book is not going to put you on the map. It takes years of work. And you know, there's a saying, it took 10 years to become an overnight success, or sometimes 50 books or whatever it is to become an overnight success. It's not some in it. And if you only get in it to try to get rich quick, that's not a good reason to get in, because that's not likely to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to love the craft. Now you do need to make money, but something you said early on, you sold 1,000 copies of that first book. The average self-published book only sells 250 copies. So you were way ahead of the
I
game.
know. I was going to talk about that too because you said I only sold 1,000
Right,
copies. And there's
right,
some authors watching
right.
this show tonight saying they
Would
wish they
love,
sold 1,000
yeah,
copies,
would love to sell
and
that.
they have the benefit of social media now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
1,000 copies back in those days, that was a lot
And I
because we were
defeat.
doing face to face, hand to hand, like
Yeah.
you said, carrying books in our trunk. We had
Mm-hmm.
to have books in our trunk. If you told somebody you were
Good.
an author and
You had to have
you
a book.
said yes, and they said, "Okay, well, where's your book?" You had to go out there and get that book.
Yeah, you had to have a book on hand. And let me tell you, every weekend, my first book, Mad Shambles, every single weekend, I was at the beauty salon early because these stylists, they'll be up in there like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 6, their
Yeah,
clients.
sometimes 6.
Yes, and honey, I was up in there selling the book, and I'm like, okay, I already got you last weekend. You know, it was somebody else new that was up in there. I was pushing that book. You understand what I'm saying?
And that's a good audience because they're sitting there, especially if it's on the weekend, they're
Yeah,
sitting there for 4 or 5 hours or maybe longer, depending on the style. And they got to have something to do. Now people are in
yeah,
their
That's
phones.
that's the other big thing because see, natural hair wasn't as big a thing back in the early 2000s. So
No.
the beauty shops were a lot more crowded.
they
Now,
were.
we got natural hair and we're doing our own hair now. You got social media teaching you how to do braids on your own. So,
Yeah,
They
so the
perfect they really perfected wigs. I mean,
yeah,
they've really done some advanced stuff with
oh yeah,
wigs.
with the little lace fronts, honey.
Hmm.
I
And make it look natural, look like a
yeah.
natural hair, and a part and everything. They have a part, side part, middle part.
Listen,
So,
you know what? It's so funny because my daughter, she said, "Mom, you've never worn a lace front." I said no because I see everybody that don't have no edges. And
well, that's
I
true.
want to be one of
Glue
those
is not good for
around
your
with.
hair. I
Mm-mm.
mean, some stuff it should be common sense, but if you're putting glue on your hair, it's going to come out when you take off whatever you
Yeah, yeah.
off. It's going to
Now,
take your hair with
now don't get it twisted. My hair is real long, but the older you get, the thinner, the thinner it gets. So I will wear some extensions to make my hair, fuller.
Yeah, yeah.
But
see,
We
that
we
lace
we
front,
enhance.
doing
We,
your hair.
yeah, we continue to enhance. You don't give up on beauty.
yeah,
No,
You
this
know,
this is why I get braids a lot because I just don't have time anymore. I
yeah.
I mean, my hair is like this, but I don't know how long it's gonna stay like this. I'm probably gonna get some braids this weekend.
Honey,
every time
where
I
are
see
you?
Rhonda, every two
Huh?
weeks she has a different hairstyle.
Where are you guys? In Houston, right?
I'm in Houston, but
And you in
Rhonda's
Maryland.
Rhonda's in Maryland.
I'm in Maryland.
Ain't it cold? Listen, girl, when I tell you my scalp is freezing out here in Georgia and Atlanta, girl, I said, because I'm coming up there to the next weekend for the Mike Epps show at the National Harbor. I told my mom, I said, I'm taking these braids out. Ain't nowhere in the world I'm gonna be freezing. And my gray coming through. I said, I'm gonna dye my hair black, honey, and I'm gonna
It's
wear my.
not freezing here yet, Kiki.
It's not freezing.
No.
Girl, these braids gotta come out, honey. This was for Mexico.
Well, Kiki, you need to let me know when you're in town because you still didn't sign my book.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry.
I was supposed to come back to you, but I wound up going to my nephew's house because I had to bring him that TV back that was sitting in my
Oh
area.
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and so when I got back, it was late. I'm like, Kiki probably sleep, and she didn't probably eat. But let me text her just to make sure.
Let me say something. Gwen, I'm so happy you gave me them daggone sandwiches, honey. That got them sandwiches, honey, because them croissant sandwiches, honey, was so good and it hit the spot. And I went downstairs, got me a drink. And listen, no shade. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first got to the hotel, I was like, Lord have mercy. This Sheraton looks so old. But when I got into that room, honey, and saw how clean it was, I appreciate you. And that bed was so soft. It was
Yeah,
real clean up in there. I was like, okay, I'm
yeah.
good.
No,
The
it's
rooms
a
are
nice.
very
The
clean
bed
at the
was
Sheraton,
nice.
It's
and the
an
bed and
older
the beds are
property,
all.
but they redid the inside, so
Yes.
it's very
Honey,
nice.
that bed was so soft. I said, in the bathroom, I said, oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for the accommodations.
And you had a long day that day too,
I did.
'cause
I
you had
did.
Yeah,
to get
well,
up for an
Gwen, I
early
got to tell
flight.
you about your girl Kiki, though. Let me tell you about your girl Kiki,
Okay.
because Rhonda and I, Rhonda Garcia, we're sitting there like, do you know where Kiki is? No. And I saw her, Kiki. She was sitting in a chair, all nice and quiet. I didn't know what she looked like, so I didn't know that was her. So Rhonda and I are looking at each other like, "Do you know where Kiki is?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, let me go down and see if she's over here by Gwen." She wasn't over there. And then I was just about to go to the back to see if she was there, and then Kiki
I
walked
walked
into me and
up.
said, "You the one doing the interviews?" Yeah, she goes, "I'm Kiki." I said, "You were sitting there all that time. I didn't know it was you." She was
Mm-hmm.
sweet and humble.
Yeah,
She
I
was
looked up.
there most of the day. Well, you got there
Mhm.
in the morning.
Yeah, I got there around noontime. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
was.
You've been there for a minute then.
Yeah, I changed my look up all the time. That's why I
Yeah,
was
because you
mad
look
with
different
Kensington.
now than you did then, but it might be because you have your hair up this
Yeah,
time.
it's all up now and stuff
Hmm.
down in the back. Yeah. I told Kensington, I said, don't send that picture out. That picture is like 12, 13 years old. Please send out my latest photo. Because
Well, they haven't. They didn't, so we used it. So it's all good. As long as it was you, we don't want
yeah,
to use a
right.
photo that's not you. but they said it. So in the time we have left, because we got 10 minutes, I want to talk
Oh yeah,
about.
we didn't even talk about our book yet.
No, we didn't, and her two books.
Yeah.
So when did you make the switch, or what made you change to like more of the mystery thriller genre in terms of your writing?
Okay. Well, because I've written, oh my God, over 55 books, and selling as many copies as I had. Kensington just felt like my editors just felt like, okay, Kiki, I need you to get away from the urban. And I need you to, because you have evolved, and you want to get away from the chitlin circuit. And because my books had started, because when I first signed with Kensington, my books were in paperback. So they were like, okay, well, look, we're going to need you to switch it up a little bit. And so, because your books are going to start off in hard copy, and so we want you to cross over mainstream. So we want you to, appeal to people that are going to buy a $22 to $25 book. So, and so I'm like, okay, that's easy. Um, so I started off, being more, contemporary and just, thinking about life's events, and I remember writing a book called Deadline, and it was about a journalist, who was from the hood. Well, her family was, and she knew about a murder. And she was afraid to crack the story because she would have had a hit on her head. So
Hmm.
it evolved. So it started from there,
Okay.
And so then I wrote the book called Burning Season, which is about, firefighters, burning down houses and getting in cahoots with the homeowners so they can get the insurance money. So it's like insurance fraud.
Okay.
So and then I did the hunting Ava thing. But if you notice, with Amber Alert and Hunting Ava, I still have like urban flares in my book. So when I thought of Amber Alert, I thought of the title and I'm like, okay, when I thought about that title, I'm like, okay, Kiki, you gotta something. It just can't be just a typical book where a kid, gets kidnapped and they've driven away in a car, you know. So, but I still had to have the element of a child being kidnapped, but just not. And as we all know, when they say Amber Alert, someone is being driven away in a car, being kidnapped. So when I thought about the story for Amber Alert and Hunting Ava, it again, it had to have an urban flair to it. So Amber Alert is about a young lady who used to be a car theft. A car thief, and she used to steal extravagant cars and sell them, on the black market and make millions of dollars. But she retired, and the guy that she used to date, he was like the ringleader, but he went to prison, federal prison, came home. But when he came home, she was messing with his best friend, and he didn't like it. So
Okay.
yeah, so I want to stop there, but
Okay.
her
You're gonna
kids,
give too much away if you keep going, Kiki.
right, you're right. So her kids ends up getting kidnapped. So that's why it's called Amber Alert, and she has to pay ransom, to get her kids back.
Okay.
And then going into Hunting Ava, you know, she moves away to Houston, Texas. And the stuff that she did in part one is going to hunt her. So what I can say about Hunting Ava is that she's going to cross some people in part one, you
Yeah.
know, and they're trying to retaliate in part two. Um, so uh that's what Hunting Ava is about. So
But I
Amber
will
Alert, huh?
about well, what I'll say about Hunting Ava and Amber Alert is even though some time has passed between the stories, it almost picks right up.
It does. It does.
I mean, a lot of the characters are the same. You've gotten to know these characters, so it's a lot easier to get into the story because you know these characters, you know what they're up to.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say about Amber Alert, she went through a lot, to try to get her kids back, and so, you know, it, some people die, so that's why there's a retaliation in part two, with Hunting Ava. Okay, Hunting Ava, because her name is Ava.
Okay. So do you feel like the urban street hood book genre is oversaturated?
I do. I do. I do.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is because that's not a genre that I read. There's certain people that I like. I'll read Quan's books, some of
Mhm.
his. Um, I read Tracy Brown, and but that's not like the genre that I read frequently.
It,
But
it
because
has.
I'm in the book business,
Mhm.
I'm paying attention to everything that's happening in books.
I
Yeah.
think my concern with this genre of books is that some of the newer authors think that what makes the book good is to make it as explosive and as gangster as possible. I'm like, y'all didn't even live, half of y'all didn't even live that life. You're
No.
going by your imagination or because you saw New Jack City back in the 90s and
Right.
you think that's the way it's supposed to be. I'm even looking at some of the plot lines and they're basically regurgitations of New
Old
Jack
book.
City or The Godfather or something like that.
Or they're
It's
Yeah.
not even realistic. Or they're not even
right.
realistic. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also the covers look like
All of them look the
almost the
same.
same. They all
They
look the same.
are. And it's so much, they're all busy.
Yes.
And
Oh
I'm
It's
like,
my
like,
goodness,
okay,
yes,
on
they
the
are
cover,
very
we're
busy. I
gonna
didn't
put
even
a
think
fancy
about that
car,
one.
a gun, some drugs,
yeah,
a woman, a dude with a lot of tats, but all of them are on the cover at the same time.
Well,
You
as
know,
an OG in the urban fiction game, what advice would you say to an up or give to an up and coming urban fiction writer?
get out of urban fiction and get out of urban fiction because it's saturated.
Yeah.
And we're tired of reading. I don't even read other people's books, to be honest with you. I don't. And I don't even like to see the hood movies. I have 3 movies right now that are on Tubi. A Sticky Situation, which is an adaptation of my book called A Sticky Situation. um,
Okay.
Candy Shop, which is an adaptation of my book, The Candy Shop, which will both plagued with drugs, and then Playing Dirty. you know and let me tell you something. When I tell you I am so sick of seeing drug dealer movies on television, it's like I want to see something quality. And
Yeah.
and I will say this: my advice to them is to think of another niche.
Mm.
Write about something, because a lot of us, and I'm just saying us as a whole, there's a lot of
Mhm.
people out here with mental health issues, you know, and I think that we should touch on, relationships where men don't know how to communicate. you know and how a lot of relationships are, you know they head for the heels, or in divorce court. I think we should just talk about something else other than drugs and the hood ratchet stuff. I'm over it. I am over it. May be my age, but I'm really and truly over it.
Yeah, well, I agree with you because I don't watch that much black programming because of that. I'm like, there's more that we can do than
Yeah.
sell drugs. Why? It's
Well,
the,
I
the
really
and the,
watch a
the
lot
good
of black
one I saw
programming. I
though.
don't watch that.
I looked
Yeah.
at Snowfall and I was surprised that I liked it, but it has so many layers. It
Right.
had a lot of subplots. It wasn't just the drug dealing. It had the CIA. It had the Mexico. It had the whole chain of the distribution and all of that. Everybody who was involved. They had the guy from Israel in there. So they really did a good job on that.
Mm.
And I like Power up to a point.
Yeah.
Um,
I watched
I
it
have
because
not seen
um
Power yet.
I watched it because of Omar Hardwick. That's why I watched it, because he was fine.
Oh, he's a good
okay.
person.
He's what got me watching it, to be honest with you. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what my motivation was, but I will say that would not deter me from
Right.
watching
Yeah.
it. From
Mm,
watching. It doesn't have to have some eye candy. You know, this is
yeah.
it's good. So what's next for Kiki? What's on the horizon for you? What do you have?
What's next for me is I'm getting ready to do a memoir of
Oh,
yeah, yeah, it's gonna be, it's called Why How I Became Wifey. And it's about my earlier life, how I grew up, and how I got involved in drugs and the guys, that I was involved with. Then I came home and got into a tumultuous relationship with my 23-year-old son's father, how he beat me for like 3-4 years. So I'm gonna talk about that in the book. And
mm,
then how I was able to get out of that situation. It just seemed like after I got out of that situation, God blessed me with wifey and building a multi-million-dollar brand. It just seemed like as soon as I got him out of my system, that negativity, I blew
mm,
it on up, you know and just just everything. I'm just going to talk about the ups and downs about the industry. I went through another traumatic relationship, so I'm just going to talk about my personal life with people, because I don't talk about my personal life. I've never
mm.
done that before, so that's what I'm going to do.
Now when can we see read how I became wifey? When is it going to
It
be
comes
out?
out next year.
2027?
I'm working on it right now, Kensington. I just got the green light that they're going to publish it. So
Okay.
yeah,
Good
so
for you.
I'm excited about that.
Can't
Yeah.
wait to read it. Can't
Yeah.
wait to. We'll have to have you back when it comes out.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being a
No
guest on the
problem,
show.
guys.
Your
Thank you.
memoir.
Yeah.
Of
And it was great meeting you in
now.
person.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. And if you need me, I'm here.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Take Take care.
Okay.
We're seeing you again.
Mhm.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.